Lagers, Pilsners, India Pale Ales, double IPAs, Doppelbocks, Belgian Goldens. That's right, it's all here on another round of Brewsday Tuesday. Here's DreZ and Big Nate.
None of it's here today. Brewsday Tuesday, brought to you by the Cellar Restaurant and Six Pack Store in downtown Blacksburg. This one it tells you, pry off the cap. They don't want you to get confused.
They want you to know.
Hurt your fingers trying to pop open this Abita brewed root beer. That's right, made with pure Louisiana cane sugar, baby. And it says right on here, caffeine free. Now, the question is, this is a 12-ounce bottle, 180 calories, 45 grams of carbs. And this one, even though this is a 12-ouncer compared to the 16-ouncer, this still has 45 grams of added sugar. That one had 51. So this one is super sugar, 90% of your daily value. So get ready to have, we might have a hangover tomorrow. Just even though I'm not drinking any alcohol, just drinking all this sugar.
That's the truth of it.
I'm gonna need to brush my teeth after this.
You know, it's interesting. You mentioned the caffeine free, and I was thinking about it off air. The reason I like root beer probably has to do with when I was a kid and they were like trying to limit my caffeine because, you know, that my parents believe that whole like caffeine will stunt your growth jazz, which I think has no correlation. And God forbid, how tall would I be if that is the case?
So you didn't get a lot of caffeine when you were a kid, so that's why you grew up drinking root beer and like, okay, that makes sense.
But I was just thinking about that off the air. I've got the root beer from Lost Rhino Brewing Company, made with pure cane sugar, non-alcoholic, of course. 12 ounces, 155 calories, 31 milligrams of sodium, so 1.3% of your daily value, 39 grams of carbs, 1.3% of your daily value. Sugar, 27 grams, but it doesn't tell me how much that is, but this is the lowest.
Well, I would say that's the healthiest root beer we've popped. Now, right off the bat, this first sip, this one does not taste the sweetest, this Abita, which is surprising given that it's got the most sugar in it. It does taste very different. I'm surprised. Now, that first round, I will give it to Dr. Brown's. It was a bit more crisp. It was tastier. So now I'm wondering if maybe I'm team root beer in a can over a bottle. Because so far, it seems to be fading that way. And you know how it's interesting, you know, usually sometimes depending on the length of the song and what beer we're drinking, I end up having to like chug the beer last second so that we can be ready for the next segment. Not the case on this one.
No
man.
danger.
This root beer, it just every sip, it feels like I'm just chugging it. Like I'm already halfway through this Abita already.
It's definitely not. It's so easy to just drink it quick.
Yeah, and that being said, I've burped twice already off the air, so get ready for, I think this segment will be chock full of some belches that come along with chugging root beer.
You know, I've had great beer. Like, why can we do that with soda but not beer?
What, chugging it?
Yeah, like why is it so much easier to like do it without thinking about it with root beer than it is with beer?
I don't know. But I'm really terrible at chugging beer, honestly, because I try to really savor it and, you know, do it, drink it how you want to drink it rather than the college days when you were just beer bonging and stuff.
It's true. I don't
drinking to get drunk.
I don't love slamming beers either. I can sit there for a good while on a beer, but never soda.
Never soda. I mean, yeah, I'm chalking up and talking about root beer, drinking it fast, but this is any soda for me. It's gone so quick. I don't know why, but it is just delicious. So now, correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't do any research because that would, you know, sticking with the tradition of Brewsday.
Just because it's a dry month doesn't mean.
So root beer is made with sassafras, right?
I believe that's the root. Yes.
Suffering succotash.
Succotash is the no, it's sassafras root.
Sassafras. Something I really love that word. That's just a fun one.
And then the other one is sarsaparilla,
which is
its own.
Yeah, it's funny because you mentioned sarsaparilla. We had one of those. I guess it was last Friday. Because we're like, oh, it's Friday. Should we treat ourselves? Because, like I said, I went to that
I
went to that office party. He gave me the Dr. Brown's, and then he had some Wild Bills. So one of them was a sarsaparilla, which, if I'm not mistaken, Sam Elliott's character in Big Lebowski.
yeah.
Doesn't he order a sarsaparilla with something at
It
the bar?
does.
I can't remember what it was exactly, but that's what I think of when I think of sarsaparilla, is like some sort of a, something at the bar. But so we had that, and yeah, very, very sweet. And we have the Wild Bill's orange cream soda that we were planning. We figured, oh, since we're not drinking, maybe that'll be our Friday treat. Although I don't know if I'm going to want any more sugary soda after this one, man. I'm already going to be all sugared up.
There's a birch beer. That's the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Have you had birch beer? Like, I remember there was a restaurant we used to go to, and I had asked for root beer, and they're like, well, we don't have root beer. We have birch beer. That's kind of like that. How do you land on birch beer instead of root beer?
I don't know.
Like, I mean, birch beer is fine, but it's not root beer. And why? Like, we're going to corner that birch beer enthusiast market.
Yeah, I don't know. Is there any other that are like that? Is there any other sodas that are, I guess there's ginger beer. I thought about doing a ginger beer show because but it's really weird drinking that one straight. Like, I feel like it needs to
has to have
be in a
alcohol.
cocktail. Yeah, it's very strange because I've done it before. Like, you pop a ginger beer to make some mules, and then there's a little bit left. You're like, well, I don't want it to go to waste. And then you sip, you're like, oh, this is too much.
I mean, they don't even, isn't it usually sold in like 8-ounce cans? I don't even think they intend for you to drink the entire ginger beer by itself.
The ones
They're
we have
planning on you mixing it.
the ones that we have are 12 ounce. The
Are they?
regular, and in fact, we tried a few different brands, but the Goslings is the kind of go-to because she's from Bermuda. She was in Bermuda, so that's partial to that one. But even that other, what's that? Starts with a B. Can't remember the other brand, but that one's in a 12-ounce can as well. It's a yellow can. Can't remember. But either way, it's just all, I don't know, I feel weird. I'm not used to all this sugar.
Yeah, it's definitely hitting, and I've of course now started burping. Or
Oh, I do wonder if these are, so, obviously Abita, and that was Lost Rhino, right?
Yep.
Renowned brewery. So I am wondering if these ones might actually be on Untapped. Let me check that out real quick. And by the way, that is what we like to use usually for alcoholic beer. In this case, perhaps root beer is on there, but DreZ Drinks is my handle if you want to hit us up. Big Nate Danger across from me. So Abita root beer. Hey, it is on here.
All right.
Ooh, a 4.06. Not too shabby. Of course, 0 ABV. All right, so we do get to do some untapping. This will be my first untapping of the month. Let me see. And yours is the Lost Rhino. Yep. Oh, your Lost Rhino has a higher score, 4.16. So not only are they on Untapped, but they got some pretty dang good scores on there too. How you liking the Lost Rhino?
I mean, it's gone. When you open it, it smells like those old timey candies, like you got the Whorehound. It smells like straight like the root beer candy, and it's probably the crispest one out of the bunch, I think.
Yeah, I think
It's fantastic.
the cans might be the way to go. You like it more than the Dr. Brown's?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's a tight race though. My least favorite so far is the
Sprisher.
But I've had them before, and it's still solid. I mean,
well, here, if you're done, you might as well go ahead. We can go ahead and swap now. I'll take, because the Abita tastes very different. So I'm curious to get your take on that. And
it's like you can almost tell that it's like a craft and not what you're used to with like the process, like the bigger process bulk distribution. Like there's a different flavor to it. Hard to describe, but it's delicious.
I'm trying to remember if I've had any other breweries that have had root beer. I feel like that's a common practice. I do think that if I remember correctly, when we had the Scots in Great Wilderness Brewing, weren't they going to do? I think they were going to do like some craft soda as well.
Do craft soda.
Have some craft soda and NA beers for those that don't drink alcohol. So,
well, not only that, like even for me, that would be a good option because sometimes like I go to a brewery, I want to hang out for a while, but I don't necessarily want to like pound beer the whole time. So I would take a break with like a root beer or cream soda.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I think the canned ones are better. What do you think of that? And it's very different.
It's
The
really
Abita.
good. The smell's interesting. I
Yeah.
don't like it's a good smell. I'm not saying it's a bad smell, but it doesn't smell like the other three did.
It is interesting how different the
It's more
root
perfumey.
beers can be. Because when you think about it, I mean, I guess General Cola, there's of course the whole Pepsi versus Coke, and then you throw in the off brands and stuff. What do you need?
Ingredients list.
All right.
I'm curious because this says carbonated water, cane sugar,
Honey.
root beer flavor,
Oh.
caramel color, and phosphoric acid,
So this one says artificial flavors.
which is probably
Citric acid, sodium benzoate.
so. I wonder if they used if they use because that says artificial flavors. If they use like a grouping of like like vanilla flavoring, honey flavoring, and then root beer, and then they just use straight root beer flavor at Abita.
This one, the Lost Rhino does have a little splurge on here. This smooth and creamy root beer is a favorite of the young and the young at heart. Our recipe is naturally sweetened with locally sourced honey and pure cane sugar. Smooth, creamy, and delicious. Try it with ice cream for the best root beer float you've ever had. Now that is actually one thing.
You don't need any more sugar.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever actually had a root beer float, even though I love ice cream, of course. I like root beer. I don't think I've ever put the two together. It never really seemed necessary.
I've had them. It is 100% not necessary.
Do you so would I just scoop a thing of ice cream and drop that in here, and that
Yep.
makes it a root beer float? So it kind of turns into like somewhat of a shake.
It's like a fizzy milkshake.
Hmm.
Root beer floats are good, but they're like if you're already worried about the sugar in the root beer,
It's ridiculous.
it's just over the top. That's what you give like if you want kids to like go to bed in a couple of hours because of a sugar crash, give them a root beer float. It'll happen.
Yeah, I can't say I've ever had a root beer float, but well, never say never. I wouldn't turn it down. It's something that I've never had the urge to order.
We went to see Cheap Thrills at the Alamo up in Northern Virginia. And have you been to an Alamo?
I don't think so.
It's the movie theater where you can that kind of the OGs on drinking. And
yeah, I would say back in the day that was the
well, we went to see
unique.
Cheap Thrills, and they have a fantastic menu. I love their popcorn, but I actually like had a root beer float, and I remember like getting through the movie like, I'm gonna crash soon. Get the Alamo. I mean, that was the other thing.
This
It was
bad
like,
boy up.
like, let's get the movie over with.
Yeah. I think I actually have been to one of those because, well, is that what opened up in Fredericksburg? Do you know, behind the old mall, behind the Spotsy Mall?
It's not an Alamo, but it's a similar.
Yeah,
It was like their competitor. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah, because I went to one of those and I was like, oh, they serve alcohol here. That's one of the, and that was before. It's pretty. I feel like that's very common now. But
The Alamo is one of my favorite places to go see the movie because they do like. I mean, there's like only so many across the country, but they work in conjunction with the studios and they'll do like cool events. Like, for instance, the Cheap Thrills I went to see, David Koechner was actually there.
oh yeah,
Yeah. We just happened on a whim. Let's go. Oh, look, Cheap Thrills. Oh, look, David Koechner. All right.
well, that's pretty damn cool. That's a pleasant surprise. Which one was this at?
It's in Northern Virginia. I can't remember what part of Fairfax it's in, but it's in Fairfax. I was the only one happy with that experience. Have you seen that movie?
I don't.
It's really dark. But there's the wife said, "Why in the hell are we watching this?" And she's not let me watch it since. Great movie. Highly recommend it. It's dark. It's pretty disturbing.
Sounds up my alley.
But David Koechner is always fantastic. And basically, essentially the concept of it is, what would you do for $1?
Mm.
And it gets
it gets bad.
way messed up.
Yeah, I could see how that premise could go off the rails. But I honestly, I feel like we might need to wrap this up because I feel like I need to go brush my teeth.
Yeah.
That's a lot of sugar. All right, let's think about this.
Lost Rhino is my favorite.
Lost Rhino might be my favorite as well. Average, and that was the less sugar too.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I wonder if that's why it was more appealing.
Well, they used honey too, which is
I do like
kind
honey.
of cheating.
Well, one of them had honey.
Not that it's against the rules.
The Sprincher one or whatever had made with honey.
That was my least favorite. I mean, with that being said, my least favorite, like
Still
That would
very
still
good.
get
Still,
a 4 and
I
a
would
half.
still drink
That's
that.
no like.
Same here. I honestly, I think the Abita was maybe my least favorite, and that's not to knock it. Yeah. So basically, if the Rhino's a 5, the Abita is still like a 4.25. I would give it or something. Like it's very very tasty. If you're a fan of root beer, I would
Any of these.
Yeah, for sure. And I actually bought 6 packs of the Rhino and the Abita. So I got some
Nice.
extras if you're interested and you want to take home and maybe make a root beer float with the kids later or something.
It'd be a bit much.
All right. Well, that's a wrap on Brewsday Tuesday. We got one more dry January Brewsday Tuesday. I already have what we're going to be drinking in my fridge, or maybe on my fridge. I can't remember if I put it in there to chill, but I will, because we're 1 week away, and then we'll get back to actually drinking beer, counting the days.
I'm gonna tally in my office like I'm in jail.
We're getting there. We'll get there, man. All right. Well, that's a wrap. Nate, as always, I appreciate you coming in. We'll take a quick break. We'll get back with the tunes right here on 105.3 The Bear. Stick around.